Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Fight Commentary. And I'm about to talk about why this IV scandal is going on because a lot of it seems a little weird. Like it's just a accusation that can be thrown out. And it seems like it's a really lofty accusation. Now, I don't know what is going through everyone's heads. I don't know what emotions these accusations are driven by, if they're actually concerning or they're just trying to talk. But I do have a theory as to why. And now, this is just a theory, it's all speculatory. None of this is accusing anyone of anything. But I think that the guys from City Kickboxing are being teammates and trying to get a rematch immediately with Islam. And this is my reasoning behind this rematch is because Islam is about 31, Volkanovski's about 35, I believe. So Volkanovski is right at that age where he's peaking as a fighter. And then as you get older, 36, 37, 38, look at what happened to Tony Ferguson and how he kind of declined around the 37-year mark. A lot of fighters who hit their late 30s tend to go on declines, and fighters really start hanging it up around 40 or 50 typically. Or when a fighter reaches at the age of like 50 or 60, they're definitely never going to step in the ring again because, again, this is a young man's sport. Now, Volkanovski has two options on the table. He could either try and get a rematch at 155, or he could move back down to 145 and fight Yair Rodriguez. Now, Yair could introduce some problems to Volkanovski. I don't think he wins against Volk, but I do think Volk has some puzzles to figure out with Yair. And if I was in Volkanovski's shoes, I would really probably work on my striking so I could outstrike Islam because Islam's striking most likely surprised Volk in this fight. Uh, he was really focusing on wrestlers, but I feel like if Volkanovski were to put all his focus onto striking again, he'd be a very dangerous striker for compared to Islam. And we've seen it before against Max Holloway. We've seen him uh completely dismantle Max in their third fight. And it was actually didn't look it looked like it's gonna affect Max Holloway's career moving forward because once a fighter takes that level of damage, it's really hard to tell like how this is going to work out. But having said that, he knows that his time is short, and I think he wants that pound for pound definitive spot. Now he still is the pound for pound number one, which I do agree with 100%. Is that if you're able to put on that performance against the bigger fighter, if Islam were to have steamrolled through Volk, then I would say Islam deserves the number one contender or the number one pound for pound fighter spot. But he didn't. It was a very close fight, and you got to look at the smaller guy who took on a bigger challenge and had such great moments against Islam. Now, he's going to want to get that match just because he knows if he were to fight Yair, it would be at least around a year or a year and a half before he faces Islam again. Because in that time, Islam's going to want to stay busy. Islam's going to want to be fighting either Charles Oliveira again or Beneil Dariush, depending on whoever the number one contenders fight is. Now, Charles Oliveira and Beneil are definitely fighting for that number one contendership. And I don't know if Charles Oliveira wins. I don't know if Beneil Dariush wins. Both of those jiu-jitsu artists have massively surprised me in everything that it is they do. Like Oliveira and Dariush are guys that have steamrolled competition and just been on tears. They're on win streaks, and it's about time that they face each other for that shot at the title. So he's going to be facing another Brazilian Jiu Jitsu fighter, no matter what. Plenty of time to continue solidifying his ground game and his striking because when you solidify your striking like that, then you could definitely out grapple anybody who does Jiu Jitsu with your Sambo base. But it's going to be a lot of time, not only for Islam to maximize, but Islam's just at that age where he is peaking, where he is coming up. And by the time they fight, when he's at 33, there's 2 more years of knowledge that Islam's going to have indented, ingrained, and he's going to be such a better fighter compared to if he were to face him now that he's like 31. But if you wait a couple years, you're going to basically solidify that Islam, who is taking the result of this fight obviously seriously with Habib, and they're going to work on stuff. The sooner he gets that fight, the better for Volkanovski's, because time isn't really on Volkanovski's side anymore, and Islam has more time on his side. Now, in about 6 years, that's going to change, but right now, Islam's going to start coming into his prime. Islam's going to prepare more. I could already tell he's going to be doubling down on himself for this one, but with that time frame, this is how you're going to publicize a rematch. Make it more intriguing. Make it more intriguing for the fans. Make it more intriguing for the UFC. Make it more intriguing to sell more pay-per-views. And maybe Volkanovski has to vacate the 145 belt, possibly, but I don't think Volkanovski cares so much about the belts as he does his legacy, and he wants to beat the best. If he has to vacate the belt, I guarantee Volk is going to look at the belt and say, it's just a belt. I have another one waiting for me at 155. But hey, that is my theory, that they're helping him out in a lot of ways. And this is a good teammate right here, because publicity plays a large part in the UFC game, plays a massive part in this. So Dan Hooker knows it, Israel Adesanya knows it, Volkanovski knows it, Islam knows it, Khabib knows it. And I think that the more this is going to help Islam too. And I think Islam's going to want to take this rematch because, yeah, he's going to want to destroy any doubt. And I think Islam is going to become just as good as Volkanovski, and if they do it now, it's going to be just as competitive because Islam's going to work on some stuff. Volkanovski's going to work on some stuff. It's going to be a very interesting rematch. I don't think it's going to go one way or the other, but I don't see Islam slacking off in round one, sleeping and getting clipped like he did in the first fight. But this, from like a publicity standpoint, from every other standpoint, this makes so much sense as to why this IV allegation is coming out. Now, thank you guys very much for watching. My theory, disclaimer, this is my theory. I don't know what anyone else is thinking, but it does make an awful lot of sense that this is probably one of the best publicity and selling points for a fight, putting in trash talk, storyline, all that for a number one contender, once in a lifetime, pound for pound best spot on the pound for pound list. I'm mixing my words because it's like a light bulb going off in my head that this is a once in a lifetime historical rematch that needs to happen. As an Islam fan, I want to see this. As a person who was rooting for Islam in the first fight and thought there were questionable moments in that fight, I want to see this rematch. I have to see it. Have a great day, guys, and thank you for listening to my theory. Later.